Welcome to Sports Extra, your premium online sports show, and I'm your host, Rubimbo Chakoreka. Today I'm flying solo, but won't be entirely solo in this show. So what is coming up on the show? Well, we'll be discussing the issue around the PSL in Daba. Well, they were discussing about issues on violence. Suspended an entire game week. Was it worth it? Well, we'll find out. Also, we'll be looking at Tondera Indiraya. Yes, the mentor for Dynamos. The man who has taken them back to the top of the log. And guess what? He is suspended. Why? What are the reasons behind it? We'll also find out. And guess who is still undefeated in schoolboy rugby is the St. John's College Rams.
Home and away. Yes. Thank you, boys.
And so the Rams keep on marching on. But we're going to be taking a short break. When we come back, we get straight into all the action. So welcome back to Sports Extra. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment on our YouTube channel. That's a Sports Extra ZW. You can also follow us on our Facebook page and Instagram handle. It's at Sports Extra Zim, and we will definitely love all of your comments, and we really want to hit the benchmark and go beyond the current subscriber base and the follower base that we have. We hope you're loving the content that we're giving you. But let's get straight into it. First up, the PSL, the Premier Soccer League, who are the body that run the Premier League here in Zimbabwe. Look at all of the divisions that are across the country, came together, suspended the league just for one match week or one match day in order to deal with the issue of violence and hooliganism at grounds, mainly perpetuated by the issue between Highlanders and Dimbare, where we had fans coming on, and then there was a disturbance with the assistant referee. If you watched last week's episode, we saw that the assistant referee actually had a few judo kicks and some karate moves that he had to show against a fan. Does PSL actually have an idea of what it's doing, or did they just suspend the match day because they didn't know what to do with the issue of violence and hooliganism? In my view, I think there's a lack of a Premier Soccer League policy. We have seen when it happens in terms of European football, the likes of AS Roma, they had a lot of violence that came through, and for close to 2 or so seasons, they were banned from having fans in the stadium. That affected their finances quite significantly, and we saw how AS Roma ultimately dropped out of being major contenders on the European continent. This is something that the likes of Highlanders, Dynamos, and anyone else that has fans that have got hooliganism tendencies are supposed to be punished with. If your fans don't behave as a club, you must be punished. When a club is punished, a club will deal with its own fans. And remember, the amount of money you pay determines the amount of security that you have. If you're going to be playing Highlanders versus Dynamos, expect a 30,000 plus strong crowd. You cannot have 12 or 15 police officers manning 30,000 people. And so these are some of the things that have to be placed on the table as part of PSL policy. How do we deal with it? If the situation or if the tendencies continue to happen, then that must mean that points must be docked from Highlanders, points must be docked from Dynamos, because we had Dynamos fans that tore up the goalposts. So clearly that kind of behavior cannot be tolerated in local football. We don't need that, and we know that that will push our football back in terms of where we want it to be. We want it to be a family center where a father can come with his wife and his children and they can all enjoy football. Now, if there are hooliganism and violence tendencies, that doesn't become a family playground, but rather it becomes a playground for those who have got violent tendencies. And so I would urge the PSL, come up with a policy, come up with a way of disciplining. Fines are clearly not working. So suspension, docking of points, also playing in empty stadiums is the only way. When you pinch the pocket of the one who's receiving it, believe me, they will react. But let's move away from the PSL and let's go towards Dimbari. Now, Dynamos have sat at the top of the log for the first time in a number of years, almost a decade, one would say. And here we have it. A man who has orchestrated that is Tonderai Stanzandiraya, who is the head coach. But guess what? He has been suspended. And all that's coming out of Dynamos right now is that he has been suspended for reasons which cannot be revealed right now. Now, it is no secret that there have been issues in the background. But let's hear Mr. Titch, who is also a Sports Extra analyst, on what could be the problem and who could be wrong.
Well, the suspension of Dynamos coach Tonderai Ndiraya came as a huge surprise, even to an avid follower of the game like myself. On Saturday, obviously, the news came out of the Dynamos camp with the club refusing to actually give any reasons for his suspension, and this obviously led to a lot of speculation with some suggestions that the suspension was due to a pay-to-play scheme, although now it is emerging that there could be a rift between Ndiraya and the executive, and this has to do with the issue of unpaid winning bonuses. So it is on record that players have already complained that they haven't received any of their winning bonuses. Dynamos is second in the log right now. They have 9 wins. Remember, they went on that good run of form when they were winning left, right, and center. But unfortunately, the players have not received any of those winning bonuses. And most of the players, especially the senior players, stating that they were playing for Tonderai Ndiraya. And it seems like Ndiraya's crime, especially when it comes to the war with this current executive, is that he was now going to the board demanding that they pay those winning bonuses, and it is alleged that the board took this as a sign that he had lost the dressing room. So I think that's just a bit of power. I know there are some executives who have never been a fan of Ndiraya, and with someone like Kaitano Tembo, who was let go at SuperSport United in South Africa, you know, that's obviously created a potential candidate to come and replace. So a whole lot of factors, but a whole lot of speculation, but a very surprising decision. Hopefully more details will emerge on this, but yeah, it's not looking too good for Ndiraya. We do know that this executive can be vindictive, and once they have suspended him and are unwilling to tell us why, I think it just means they're trying to find a good enough reason to justify their action. So it looks like a decision that will most likely stick. So I'm not sure what that will do to the title challenge for Dynamos. Maybe some fans will be happy with it, having complained about Dynamos playing boring football. But yeah, wait to see how this one plays out.
Well, you heard it for yourself from Mr. Titch. I wonder whether the issue can be quickly resolved, because Dynamos need to have their coach. They need to have the team morale at its best level if they intend to take a league title. Otherwise, FC Platinum right now, which is chugging along just like a train, toti, they are coming back into contention for the title. And that would not read well for local football, because FC Platinum have been winning the title for the last 3 years. Well, that was prior to COVID. And if they come back and they win it again, then what are we called? Are we a farmers league, or is it just because FC Platinum is that competitive? Well, we take a short break. When we come back, we'll be dealing with schoolboy rugby. Welcome back to another segment of Sports Extra, and this is what I love talking about. Schoolboy rugby. The season is back. It's back with a bang. Some surprise wins and of course some shock defeats. That's all I can really say, because over the weekend we saw exactly that. We went to St. John's College, and St. John's College continue on their unbeaten run in the schoolboy rugby season after having a torrid last 2 seasons prior to COVID-19. But they are back, and they're back with a bang. They beat Lomagandi Bisons, who were also undefeated up until this point, by 27 points to 13. So it was jubilation and celebration, as you saw at the beginning of the show. And you know how the boys come together with camaraderie, with all these war cries and making things happen. Well, if there was one man who was happy, it was their coach, Max Madziva. Let's get to hear his thoughts.
Oh, there was a lot of pressure. I think the build-up started last week, and it was too, it's like boxing. They say styles make fights. So this was definitely one of those where it was two very different styles. We wanted to play the ball a bit. We knew they had big forwards, and they wanted to take it up in the forwards a bit. So yeah, and it was just, the boys, they stood up. We knew they were going to take it up. A lot of the forwards, we stood up, and that's what we asked the boys to do, and they delivered. So very well done to them.
Oh yes, one of the major things as well that we saw within the first 15 to about 20 minutes in the first half, you really had them pinned back, particularly in their own half.
I think the thing is with these boys, sometimes they lack belief in themselves and their skills, so it's almost like when they get to the line, they freeze. So, and we had so many try scoring opportunities in the first 5 minutes, and somebody knocked the ball on or just didn't go forward. So it's just a belief thing, it's a confidence thing, and it's the young boys that haven't played in a while, so it'll come. At least the season is long.
All right, well, it is match day 3 of the schoolboy rugby season. You are still undefeated. What's your next match?
So next week we've got there's trials, so we don't have a game next week because there's the Zim trials. We've got a lot of under-17s playing here. I think we had 5, and our under-18s. So we don't have a game next week, and I think after that it should be Falcon. We go to Falcon. So again, that's going to be another tough week. So every week is going to be a tough week. So like I said before, we'll take it as it comes.
All right. So just coming into this role, how much pressure do you think there was to just make sure that you went coming out of COVID? Yes. You have the perfect kind of season to build on and look forward in the future.
I think it was a lot of stuff, pre-season stuff that we did was skills. So we needed just to sharpen the skills. So it was almost to uplift their skills. Because remember, some of these guys, I think the last time they played rugby, they were in under-14s with no boots on. So it was just really just to catch up their skills. And again, it was one of the reasons we wanted to go to South Africa, just to see where we were. So a lot of skills, and the boys are delivering, which is, I'm happy for them. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the win, and I'm sure the celebrations will continue long through the week.
Yeah, my voice, my blood pressure, it's not good for it. But now we'll enjoy it. The boys will enjoy it. They've got a weekend free next week, so I'm happy, really happy for them.
All right, congrats.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Well, that was Max. He's hoping that things will continue to roll on, but coming up against Falcon will also be another tough encounter. Whilst talking about Falcon, unfortunately for them, it has been stop-start. After a very good performance last weekend against CBC, they were not able to overcome the Peterhouse Kings, who were writhing and foaming at the mouth after they were stunned by Lomagandi Bisons. And so they lost in that particular encounter, 33 points to 21 to the Peterhouse Kings in Marondera. It is a very chilly place to go to, so I'm sure the Mad Dogs of Falcon were not enjoying the weather there. But there was also a stunning result that happened just along Borrowdale Road at St. George's College. It was the first time in 8 years that the Dragons of St. George's beat Prince Edward in the Centenary Cup. Now, this is a trophy that they play for annually in the schoolboy rugby season. It's played on a home and away basis. And this time round, it was St. George's that came through with a 34-10 victory against Prince Edward. I mean, it was phenomenal. That's one thing I can say. Now, one thing I must say is that people are already touting that St. John's College will have an undefeated season. And look, I think they are now beginning to metamorphosize themselves into that kind of a side, because they've beaten the side which was undefeated right now, and Loma Gandhi was going to be a serious threat, in as much as I feel that they were enemies of their own progress. But look, there is Falcon College still to come. They've still got to face Peterhouse, who we really haven't seen what kind of rugby that they are playing. But reports coming from Marondera were saying that Peterhouse are looking better and better. Levels of fitness are going to be getting to par, because remember, St. John's College went on tour whilst many teams stayed behind as they were waiting for Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education approval to get back into school sport. So as the fitness levels begin to come to par, the games are going to become more and more difficult. But with the Zim trials being done this weekend and no schoolboy rugby action, you will expect that many of the teams that will have players staying behind will be working on their conditioning, on their fitness, so that they can last better in matches. And I'm sure that will bring some level of difficulty for some of the teams that are dominating right now. But let's see how it all goes for the rest of the season. We take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be discussing, yes, Manchester City are the champions, Arsenal are going to be playing Europa League, and so much more. All right, so let's put things into perspective. Pep Guardiola has won 10 trophies in 13 years as a manager. That is across all of the leagues that he has managed. And well, it's his 4th trophy in 5 years in the Premier League. He definitely is one who deserves plaudits and celebrations, as Manchester City yesterday took the title once again away from Liverpool, who had an opportunity to actually catch up and do the business. But that draw against Tottenham, I believe that was the one which blew the quadruple out of the water. But anyway, let's look at it. Manchester City trailed 2-0 with about 68 minutes on the clock. One would have thought it was done and dusted. I said it whilst I was actually sitting in my living room. But little did I know that the little hero, the little German called Ilkay Gundogan, would come through and inspire a comeback that would be reminiscent of that 93-40 victory. 93-40, one would ask? That's when Sergio Aguero scored in the 93rd minute with 40 seconds on the clock. And guess what? They won that Premier League title, the first one for Manchester City. And it looks like they've just been roller coastering along the way in the Premier League. So well done to them. Liverpool ended up a second. Chelsea obviously ended up third after their 2-1 win over Watford. And the top 4, guess what? It was sealed with Tottenham winning by 5-0 against Norwich City. So sending Norwich City back to the championship with a drubbing. What an Antonio Conte effect. Look at what he did. Comes into a club which was struggling to even get into the European club places, and he pushes them all the way into the Champions League. I know he's got a lot of business to do in the transfer window this summer, but that is a fantastic effect. If we can still hold on to the likes of Wen-Ming Song and, of course, their talisman, Harry Kane, I'm sure they will cause problems in the Champions League the following season. So that's sealed in terms of the top 4 spots. But guess what? It's Arsenal and Manchester United, giants of old, those that used to rule the roost in the Premier League. They are playing Europa League football this season. Ralph Rangnick signed out his interim manager role with a 1-0 loss to Crystal Palace. Torrid time for him. At least he was honest enough to say it was horrible. But guess who was watching? Erik ten Hag, the new manager for Manchester United. He knows he's got a lot of work to do. He was biting on his nails as he was watching a horrible performance from a Manchester United which is lacking depth. As for Arsenal, they seem like they are getting back on the bicycle. But the question still remains, will Arsenal be able to hold it out? We know what Europa League can do. It is very demanding. Playing midweek matches on a Thursday, and then you come back, you have a match on a Saturday, and then you've got another match on another Thursday. This will prove to be very difficult for Arsenal. It will mean juggling aside, or it will mean increasing the squad depth. All this will also mean that they have to do a lot of business in the transfer window. Well, there was also a fantastic and historic finish for Brighton and Hove Albion, finishing in their best ever position in the Premier League in the history of their existence, which was number 9. And they did that with a 3-1 win rather over West Ham United. So that's all good for them. But what happened at the bottom end of the table? Well, for Norwich City as well as Watford, their fate had been determined way before we got into the last match. But it was between Leeds United and Burnley where all the talk was going to happen. Who was going to sink and who was going to go forward? Well, for Burnley, they could only manage a 2-1 defeat to Newcastle United, which ultimately meant they were relegated. Leeds United actually survived that drop by the skin of their teeth as they won by 2-1 against Brentford. But there'll be a lot of work to do for Jeff Marsh, who came through. So the American proving that, look, if he could tighten up the Leeds United defense, then Leeds United could actually play better. But there'll be questions as to whether they can hold on to Rafinha, because Rafinha has been the discussion for Barcelona, for Manchester United, for Man City. Even the likes of Liverpool are interested in the man. So, will Rafinha leave? Will Rafinha stay? Will Rodrigo go back to Spain? Will Rodrigo stay? There'll be questions around all of those players, as well as Calvin Phillips, who has also been watched by the likes of West Ham United, Manchester City, Manchester United. Even the likes of Liverpool are also interested in the man. So the discussion will continue and will rage on. But at the end of the day, Manchester City have taken the title. But also, just as an anecdote by the side, it is AC Milan, the Rossoneri, who have been able to pick up the title in Italy after 11 years without winning the Scudetto, the Serie A title. They were able to pip Inter Milan and win by 3-0 yesterday against Sassuolo. Inter Milan struggled against Sampdoria. They just couldn't pull it back, and the results couldn't fall their way. So for Simone Inzaghi, not much of a bad season, coming on the back of Inter Milan winning the title with Antonio Conte. But he comes a second. I think they need to keep the man. He has done a good job after players left the side because of financial issues. If he can hold on to Lautaro Martinez, then I think he's got a good shot next season. Well, let's just look at some of the messages that you've been bringing through. Many of you have been enjoying what we're bringing as content, and we're thankful for that. And I'll start off with the issue around Peterhouse. We've actually got Tinashe from Marondera Anza. I'm an old boy from Peterhouse, and I'm excited at what Peterhouse will be able to do. Now, don't forget you lost against Lomagandhi here, and it is going to be tough times when you play the likes of Prince Edward. Will you play Prince Edward? Will you play Churchill? Or will you also be able to overcome St. John's College, because they are on fire? Also, another message coming through here is a Manchester City supporter. That's Adrian. He's coming through and saying, look, Manchester City have done the business. There was no way we were going to drop the title on the last day, because we have never lost a last day match. So that is true. It is a statistic around Manchester City. So the question is, can you actually take the trophy that they brought Pep Guardiola in the doors for? That's the Champions League title. He has failed dismally over the years, but let's see if we can do it next season. Well, for Liverpool supporters, this one is Tatenda, and it looks like you're a lady, because you're saying, I am gutted. I was with my lady friends whilst we were watching. Glad to see that we've got ladies who are also passionate about sport. Mind you there, and you're saying that it's unfortunate for Liverpool, but will take the title away from Manchester City next season. Well, I think it's going to be another one, because Chelsea, I'm sure, is going to be coming into the fray. Let's see how Manchester United are able to get themselves back into it. Arsenal are playing better, so it's going to be tougher next season. And then finally, from local support coming through from, if I can just get this one right, it looks like it's Tichaona. Tichaona saying, "Nai dimbare yangu inozviitire izvozvo, dimbare ngainyarewo. Tonderai Ndiraya is doing a good job. Ari kushandisa vafana, and it looks like it's paying dividends." Why has he been suspended, and why are they continuously, sinking the ship here? Dimbare ngaombomira politics dzacho so that bora rifambe mberi. Well, we do hope that everything will be resolved in its good time, and I'm sure Tonderai Ndiraya will be back on the technical bench. Well, my name is Rumbo Chakureka. I am your host for Sports Extra. We'll be having other guests coming into the studio next week. But as for now, it leaves me to say it's been great, it's been fun, but cheerio.